In 1978, John Carpenter's Halloween redefined the horror genre and introduced audiences to a new standard of fear. With its chilling atmosphere, unforgettable score, and the emergence of iconic characters, the film established a lasting legacy that continues to influence filmmakers and scare audiences today. By harnessing innovative storytelling techniques and horror tropes such as the final girl, Halloween not only captivated viewers but also paved the way for a wave of slasher films that followed. Its exploration of themes like evil, isolation, and societal anxieties about youth and sexuality transformed the landscape of horror and remains integral to film studies and pop culture. Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, opens with a dark and atmospheric title sequence featuring a jack-o'-lantern accompanied by the iconic theme music. The story begins on October 31st, 1963, in the small town of Haddonfield, Illinois. A young boy named Michael Myers, just 6 years old, witnesses the culmination of familial dysfunction when he brutally murders his older sister Judith. The horrifying act is captured from Michael's perspective, establishing his signature mask and knife as symbols of his malevolence. The scene concludes with the arrival of Judith's parents, who find Michael standing outside emotionless, clutching the murder weapon. Fast forward to October 30th, 1978, when Dr. Sam Loomis, Michael's psychiatrist, and his nurse Marion Chambers are en route to a sanatorium to transport the now 21-year-old Michael for a court hearing. They are soon alarmed to discover that Michael has escaped. On Halloween, Loomis is convinced that Michael has returned to Haddonfield, with catastrophic potential. Meanwhile, we meet Laurie Strode, a high school student living in Haddonfield, portrayed by Jamie Lee Curtis. She is tasked with dropping off a key at the derelict Myers house, now an object of local horror stories. Laurie is then followed by Michael, whose eerie presence looms behind her as she walks to school, hinting at the terror that will soon unfold. As Halloween festivities commence, Loomis tries to warn local authorities, but skepticism meets him at every turn. Unbeknownst to the townspeople, Michael has begun stalking Laurie and her friends, Annie and Linda, as they plan their Halloween activities. Tensions build with sightings of Michael, including an intimidating moment when Laurie is startled by his shadow while navigating her neighborhood. Amid the assorted plots of teen life, Michael's malevolence is steadily depicted through this stalking, with violent encounters escalating as he murders Annie, Bob, Linda's boyfriend, after they retreat to the Wallace house. Their disregard for the danger surrounding them ultimately seals their fate. Laurie, left to babysit Tommy Doyle, begins suspecting something is awry when she discovers the bodies of her friends in the Wallace house, leading to a harrowing chase. As Laurie realizes she's in grave danger, she fights back desperately, injuring Michael multiple times. Carpenter builds palpable suspense with a minimalistic sound design and craftily written dialogue, reflecting the ever-looming threat of Michael poses. On the night of terror, Michael appears virtually unstoppable. Laurie attempts to secure safety for herself and the children when she locks herself in the Myers house after escaping from him. Although she manages to stab and seemingly kill him, he soon rises from the dead, embodying the horror of the inexorable return of evil. The climax of the film sees Dr. Loomis confronting Michael at the Doyle house. In a striking visual and narrative twist, Loomis shoots Michael multiple times, causing him to fall from a balcony. However, just as Laurie expresses an emotional relief, it becomes chillingly clear that Michael is still alive and may never truly die. Halloween concludes with the haunting image of Michael's now empty form on the ground, but hints at his surviving presence as he disappears from sight, leaving behind an atmosphere of dread. The film leaves viewers with the chilling implication that Michael Myers, the embodiment of evil, is still out there, primed to return, setting the stage for horror and suspense in future installments of the franchise. The movie mastery lies not only in its shock, but also in its exploration of the nature of fear and the complexities of human evil. John Carpenter's iconic film Halloween has its roots in his earlier project, Assault on Precinct 13. Producer Irwin Yablans, impressed by Carpenter's work, sought to reintroduce the film after a lackluster domestic reception, showcasing it at international film festivals. It was at the Milan Film Festival that Yablans met a British man named Michael Myers, who appreciated Assault's storytelling and subsequently promoted it in European venues. Carpenter, along with his then-girlfriend Deborah Hill, attended the London Film Festival. It was there they encountered financier Mustafa Akkad, who sought to enter the American mainstream market alongside Yablans. Yablans had an idea for a horror movie focused on babysitters being stalked by a killer. He envisioned a project entitled The The Babysitter Murders, aiming for a similar impact as The Exorcist. After conversations with Yablans, Carpenter adjusted the concept to take place on Halloween, and thus Halloween was born. With a modest budget of $300,000, sourced from Akkad's leftover funds from another project, Carpenter was motivated by the challenge. He was offered $10,000 for directing, writing, and composing the film's music, along with a 10% share of profits. Though Akkad was initially hesitant due to Carpenter's inexperience with feature films, he was persuaded by Carpenter's compelling narrative presentation and passion for the project. Producing the film alongside Carpenter, Deborah Hill brought a deeper thematic element involving the nature of evil and Halloween folklore, specifically the Celtic festival of Samhain, a night of chaos and supernatural occurrences. Haddonfield, the fictional setting for the film, was borrowed from the name Haddonfield, New Jersey, where Hill was raised. Many streets reflected Carpenter's hometown in Kentucky. Although Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, was not initially Carpenter's first choice, her casting proved fortuitous, partly due to her lineage. Her mother, Janet Leigh, starred in the slasher classic Psycho. Preparation for filming involved creative design, particularly in crafting Michael Myers' infamous mask. Tommy Lee Wallace, a friend of Carpenter, adapted a Captain Kirk mask into what would become a chilling visage of the film's antagonist. Production aimed for a tightly knit schedule, concluding in just 21 days in South Pasadena, California during the spring of 1978, with the production team creatively managing budget constraints, such as reusing fake leaves for autumn scenery. Carpenter's visionary direction and emotional investment helped shape the film's tension, evidenced by the iconic score, featuring a haunting piano line that enhanced the atmosphere of dread. Despite the humble beginnings and a slow rollout, the film gained momentum, ultimately grossing around $55 million in theaters, making it one of the highest-grossing independent films of all time. The success of Halloween revolutionized the horror genre, establishing trends in slasher films and reinforcing elements of the final girl trope, where the virtuous character survives. Although Carpenter and Hill deny any deliberate thematic intentions, the film's impact on the portrayal of morality and horror remains a noteworthy discussion point in film analysis. Today, Halloween is regarded as a classic, leaving a legacy that influences countless horror films and continues to terrify audiences worldwide, capturing the essence of fear and the unpredictability of evil in seemingly tranquil settings. Halloween, a defining entry in the horror genre that continues to resonate with audiences. Its enduring legacy can be attributed to the exploration of several robust themes, the nature of evil, isolation, and vulnerability, and the complexes surrounding mental illness and stigmatization. These themes not only enhance the psychological depths of the film, but also reflect societal anxieties prevalent at the time of its release. At its core, Halloween is a chilling portrayal of pure evil embodied by Michael Myers. Unlike traditional antagonists, who may have identified with motivations, greed, revenge, or jealousy, Michael represents the incomprehensible and relentless force. Dr. Samuel Loomis, Michael's psychiatrist, articulates this concept throughout the film, claiming that Michael is pure evil, suggesting that he operates beyond human understanding and morality. This theme raises profound questions about the origins of evil. Is it innate, or is it a product of environment or nature? It challenges viewers to grapple with the idea that evil can exist without reason, making it all the more terrifying. The film's depiction of Michael Myers as a masked figure stalking the quiet suburb of Haddonfield serves as a metaphor for how evil can lurk in everyday life, hidden behind familiar facades. The unsettling notion that such darkness can invade a seemingly safe environment underscores a persistent fear many people share, that evil is not just an external threat, but something that can exist in their midst. The characterization of evil is so impactful that it has paved the way for countless horror films since, establishing a trope where the antagonist is a less human being than a manifestation of darkness itself. Isolation is another pivotal theme explored in Halloween. Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, is depicted as a responsible and observant babysitter. Throughout the film, she is often shown in solitary moments, fumbling with her own fears, while more carefree friends engage in risky behavior. The smart juxtaposition of her qualities against the backdrop of suburban normalcy creates an atmosphere where safety is illusionary. The film's setting in Haddonfield, a quiet suburban neighborhood, further amplifies this theme. Initially, the town appears safe and secure, representing the innocence of middle-class America. However, as the narrative unfolds, this familiar setting becomes a dangerous ground where evil can rear its head at any moment. Laurie's vulnerability is compounded by her isolation. As she finds herself more alone in the face of Michael Myers' approach, the tension escalates. This representation mirrors a broader societal fear, the belief that even in safe communities, isolation can lead to fatal vulnerabilities. Moreover, Halloween plays with the idea of how trusted spaces can turn into sites of terror, challenging the viewer's perception of security. The dark intrusion into these seemingly ordinary lives resonate with many who fear that terror can manifest in familiar environments, emphasizing that isolation can be both a physical and psychological experience. The portrayal of mental illness in Halloween also plays a critical role in the film's thematic fabric. Dr. Loomis serves as a representative of society's struggle to understand and address mental health issues. Concern for Michael Myers sheds light on the complexities of psychiatric care, underscoring both the potential for violence in untreated mental illness and society's fears surrounding it. Loomis's determination to prevent further harm emphasizes how society often grapples with its fear, leading to a stigmatization of those who suffer from mental health issues. Despite Loomis's insights, Michael's escape from the institution serves as a chilling reminder of how individuals with mental illness can be misunderstood and viewed as dangerous. This stigma is compounded by the film's portrayal of violent outcomes, suggested that there may be little room for redemption or understanding. The film's narrative invites viewers to consider their perceptions of mental illness and the implications of neglecting mental health care, particularly in a society that can be all too eager to demonize those who struggle.
Halloween is often credited with establishing several horror tropes that have become staples of the genre, particularly within the slasher subgenre. Understanding these tropes is crucial to appreciating the film's impact and lasting influence on horror cinema. Three notable tropes employed in Halloween are the final girl, the stalker masked killer, and the connection between sex and violence. The final girl trope features a singular female character who survives the horrors of the narrative and often confronts the killer directly. Laurie Strode epitomizes this trope. Throughout the film, Laurie is depicted as responsible, intelligent, and resourceful, qualities that ultimately aid her survival against Michael Myers. In contrast, her friends engage in reckless behavior and sexual promiscuity, positioning Laurie as the moral character of the story. By remaining chaste and responsible, she defies the fate of her more sexually liberated peers, who are typically punished for their perceived moral failings. Laurie's role as their survivor not only underscores her strength, but also allows for a more nuanced exploration of gender dynamics in horror, marking a departure from traditional portrayals of women merely as victims. Michael Myers is the quintessential embodiment of the silent masked killer trope. Dressed in a mechanic's jumpsuit and wearing a distinctive white mask, Michael is a figure of relentless terror. His silence and methodical approach to stalking his victims create an oppressive atmosphere filled with suspense. Unlike many horror villains who boast grandiose motivations or monologues, Michael's anonymity and lack of verbal expression emphasize the ambiguity of his evil. The mask serves as a powerful symbol representing the unknown and allowing audiences to project their own fears onto him. As he appears unexpectedly, invoking existential dread, Michael Myers becomes the archetype for future slashers, cementing his status as an icon of horror. Another significant trope illustrated in Halloween is the correlation between sexual activity and punishment. The film suggests that characters who engage in sexual behavior are more likely to fall victim to the killer. Laurie, as the good girl, remains largely chaste, and her survival reflects a moralistic theme often found in the slasher. Her friends Annie and Linda, who indulge in sexual escapades, are swiftly punished for their actions. The connection underscores societal anxieties about sexuality, particularly those pertaining to youth. It creates a moral framework where the consequences of reckless behavior lead to violent outcomes, presenting viewers with a cautionary tale that reinforces traditional notions of virtue and vice. The strategic use of these tropes in Halloween not only defined the film, but also laid the groundwork for countless horror films that followed. By establishing the attributes of the final girl, the chilling presence of the stalker killer, and the moralistic undertones connecting sex to violence, Carpenter created a template that resonated with audiences and inspired the slasher genre. The film's ability to blend suspense, psychological tension, and social commentary has left an indelible mark on horror cinema, influencing filmmakers and shaping audience expectations for decades. As such, Halloween remains a seminal work showcasing how effective horror tropes can elevate a film beyond mere scares into a thought-provoking narrative. The legacy of John Carpenter's Halloween is profound and far-reaching, fundamentally reshaping the horror genre and establishing the template for the slasher film. Widely regarded as one of the most influential horror films ever made, Halloween instigated a wave of imitators, spawning countless sequels and remakes, as well as inspiring filmmakers such as Wes Craven, David Gordon Green, and many others. The film introduced the iconic character of Michael Myers, a faceless, silent killer whose relentless pursuit of his victims has become synonymous with horror itself. The portrayal helped to popularize the stalker masked killer trope, which remains a dominant figure in slasher films. Additionally, Halloween established the final girl trope, characterized by a virtuous female survivor who confronts the killer, forever altering the role of women in horror narratives. Beyond tropes, Halloween profoundly impacted on how horror films approach suspense and tension, utilizing chilling music, specifically Carpenter's minimalistic scores, to invoke a sense of dread that lingers long after the credits roll. It also prompted industry shifts in horror cinematography, emphasizing a more grounded realism, and set the stage for the increased popularity of independent horror films, showcasing how creativity and resourcefulness can eclipse larger budgets. Ultimately, the legacy of Halloween encompasses not just its immediate impact on the genre, but also its enduring cultural significance as it continues to be analyzed, celebrated, and referenced in contemporary film and pop culture. In conclusion, John Carpenter's Halloween has left an indelible mark on the horror genre, solidifying its role as a foundational work that redefines cinematic terror. Through the introduction of timeless tropes like the final girl and the silent masked killer, the film shaped audience expectations and influenced countless filmmakers over the decades. Its masterful blend of suspense, thematic depth, and iconic score remains a benchmark in horror cinema, continuing to resonate with viewers and inspire analysis. As cultural conversations evolve, Halloween endures as a relevant exploration of fear, morality, and the complexities of human evil, securing its place in cinematic history. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the chilling legacy of John Carpenter's Halloween. If you enjoyed this analysis and want to explore more horror films, don't forget to like and subscribe to Celluloid Asylum. Next week, we're excited to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the cult horror musical classic, Phantom of the Paradise. You won't want to miss our exploration of its unforgettable characters and themes. Until then, remember, horror doesn't just lurk in the shadows, it captivates the mind. And until next time, stay sane, if you can.